In many of the most iconic movies, writers often use a point of no turning back to push the main character into action. This is the moment when the protagonist can't go back to their old life without facing challenges that test who they are and what they're capable of. It's a great way to drive a story to a satisfying conclusion. But what about humanity? Are we ready for our point of no turning back? For a single person, this moment is a hurdle to overcome before life can go back to normal. But for humanity, it's a shift into a new and far more dangerous reality. Once we cross that threshold, there's no going back to the way things were. Our collective point of no return is tied to the climate. If we don't make drastic cuts to greenhouse gas emissions by 2035, we'll be unable to avoid a global temperature rise of 2 degrees Celsius. That might not sound like much, but the consequences will be catastrophic. A 2-degree increase will bring more heat waves, massive coastal flooding, and extreme storms. Entire ecosystems will collapse, countless species will vanish, and society, as we know it, will struggle to function. Governments won't be able to keep up, and the fabric of civilization could begin to unravel. So, why are we letting this happen? Why, with all our technological advances, can't we stop the coming disaster? The answer is complicated. The oil and gas industry has played a major role in delaying action. For decades, fossil fuel companies spread misinformation and pushed unrealistic solutions. Governments influenced by lobbyists have failed to take the problem seriously. On top of that, the scale of change needed requires a level of global cooperation that we haven't seen yet. Another problem is greenwashing. To improve their image, companies market themselves as environmentally friendly, but many of their efforts have little real impact. Greenwashing works because it makes people feel good about their choices, even when those choices don't help the planet. Thankfully, awareness of this issue is growing. So, how can we all make enough change before it's too late? The year 2035 is often referred to as the point of no turning back. This date isn't random. It's based on climate data, showing that we need to cut global emissions by 60% by 2035 to avoid surpassing a 2-degree rise in temperature. By 2030, we need a 43% reduction, along with a 1/3 cut in methane emissions. The ultimate goal is to reach net zero emissions by 2050, which would limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. However, these goals are based on probabilities, not guarantees. Earth systems are incredibly complex, and the true outcomes are hard to predict. That's why urgent action is essential. The consequences of inaction will be devastating. Rising temperatures will lead to more heat-related deaths and make parts of the world uninhabitable. Coastal areas will experience constant flooding, displacing millions of people. Entire ecosystems will collapse, starting with Arctic and mountain regions. Food shortages will worsen due to droughts, causing mass migrations and political instability. As billions of people are displaced, society will face mounting pressure and may begin to crumble. One of the most concerning effects of climate change is the potential collapse of the Gulf Stream. This vital ocean current regulates temperatures and rainfall across the globe. As Greenland's ice melts, the influx of fresh water weakens the Gulf Stream. If it collapses, sea levels will rise, European winters will become colder, and billions will lose access to rainfall critical for agriculture. And that's just one example. Climate systems are interconnected, and disrupting one can trigger a domino effect, creating new disasters we can't predict. Despite these challenges, there is hope. Renewable energy like solar, wind, and hydropower is becoming cheaper and more accessible. Electric vehicles are also making a difference, producing far fewer emissions over their lifetime compared to gas-powered cars. If we act now, we can buy ourselves more time to reduce emissions and transition to a sustainable future. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support our work, subscribing and sharing helps us create bigger and better projects.